Welcome back to Fiercely Unfiltered. I'm Kelly Renee, and I wanted to start this episode a little different than the last few because self-worth hasn't been something I could ever neatly define or confidently claim. It's been something I questioned, something I've misunderstood, something I thought I had in some areas of my life and clearly didn't in others. And for a long time, that contradiction really bothered me. I couldn't stop trying to make sense of it. Because if I'm honest, I wasn't weak. I wasn't incapable. I wasn't lost across the board. I was strong. I was disciplined. I was successful. And I stayed in situations that didn't align with who I believed I was. I kept asking myself, how can both of these things be true at the same time? How can someone be competent and capable in so many areas of life and yet feel frozen or confused in others? Why did my confidence show up in rooms full of pressure, but disappear in rooms full of emotion? I could lead, I could build, I could execute under pressure, I could survive responsibility, chaos, and stress. I have proven that over and over again in my life. And yet, when it came to my personal life, especially my marriage, I made choices that confused even me. Not because I didn't know better, because knowing better and being able to act on it are not the same thing. And I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings around self-worth. We assume that if you truly value yourself, you will always make the right choice. But life doesn't work like that. Your body doesn't work like that. And healing definitely doesn't work like that. When I look back, my earliest sense of worth came from doing, from accomplishing, from meeting expectations, from checking boxes and moving forward. In the military, there was structure, clear rules, clear rank, clear steps. You knew exactly what was required of you, and if you did it, you advanced. I did well there. I moved up quickly. I was disciplined, dependable, reliable. My worth was reinforced through performance. Being capable made me feel safe. Being productive made me feel valuable. Being reliable gave me identity. There wasn't a lot of emotional confusion in that environment. There was clarity, and clarity is comforting. That framework followed me into adulthood. I became a builder, a provider, the one who holds things together. I built businesses. I carried responsibility. I made things work. Being reliable mattered to me. Being capable mattered to me. Being productive mattered to me. Being resilient mattered to me. I took pride in being the one who could handle things, the one who didn't fall apart, the one people can count on when things got hard. So my self-worth wasn't fragile, but it was functional. It was tied to output, to contribution, to endurance, to being the person who kept going no matter what. And that matters because when my marriage started to fall apart, it didn't just hurt emotionally. It threatened who I thought I was. Walking away didn't just feel like loss. It felt like failure. It felt like giving up on something I had poured years of my life into building. It felt like abandoning the version of myself who believed endurance meant character. I had always believed that staying meant strength, that commitment meant pushing through, that loyalty meant not quitting when things got hard. And untangling that belief from my self-worth took a long time. I've always had strong values, clear lines in my head about right and wrong, clear beliefs about what I would and wouldn't tolerate. One of my biggest non-negotiables was cheating. I believed and I said out loud that if someone cheats on you, they don't value you. And if they didn't choose you once, they weren't suddenly going to. I gave that advice confidently. I believed it deeply. And then I found myself standing in the exact situation, and I didn't leave. And that broke something inside of me. Not just my trust in him, but my trust in myself. Because the deepest pain wasn't only the betrayal. It was realizing that I crossed a line I swore I never would. For a long time after that, I felt like an imposter. I had given advice I couldn't live by. I judged women who stayed, and then I became one. And that shame wasn't loud. It was quiet, showed up in the way I questioned myself, in the way I replayed decisions, in the way I wondered if I was still allowed to speak about strength at all. But here's the part I didn't understand yet. I wasn't lacking self-worth. I was lacking safety. I knew what I believed. I wasn't confused about my values. I just couldn't act on them. And that distinction explained everything for me. Knowing your self-worth doesn't automatically mean you're ready to protect it. It doesn't mean your worth isn't real. It means your nervous system might not feel safe enough yet. My nervous system wasn't choosing logic. It was choosing what felt known over what felt safe. And when your nervous system is in survival mode, it doesn't care about your values. It cares about keeping you connected, keeping you regulated, keeping you from what feels like total loss. I wasn't ignoring my intuition. I was overriding it. Not because I didn't respect myself, but because connection felt safer than separation. And I wish someone had told me that earlier, because I spent years thinking I was weak, when really my body was just trying to protect me in the only way it knew how. And here's where self-worth had to be redefined for me. Because when I lost my relationship, my titles, my business, when everything I had tied my worth to disappeared, I didn't have anything external to lean on. So I had to decide where my self-worth was actually going to come from. And I'm still working on that. But I made it my mission not to let my worth depend on other people again. Instead, I wanted my self-worth to be rooted in things I could actually stand on. My strength, my choices, my integrity, my ability to tell the truth even when it costs me something, my willingness to stay aligned with myself even when it's uncomfortable. Not how I'm perceived, not whether I'm chosen, not whether someone understands my side of the story. That shift didn't bring instant peace, but it brought clarity. Choosing alignment didn't make everything fall into place. There was no moment where things just made sense and I can move on. And when there's no clarity, there's no clean grief. You don't get to mourn something and close a chapter. You stay suspended. And suspension is brutal on self-worth. Because when things don't make sense, you start assuming you are the problem. You start dissecting yourself instead of the situation. You start shrinking instead of stabilizing. And at the same time, my family wasn't an anchor for me. We weren't especially close, but family is supposed to be the place that picks you. And when that didn't happen either, everything felt unstable, quiet, heavy, like free fall without a net. After that, I tried stepping into something new. Not a relationship, a community, a new golf community. Something grounded, something physical, something separate from my past. For a moment, it felt like exactly what I needed. Something normal, something steady, something that didn't require emotional explanation. And then I was kicked out of that too. Marriage, family, community. When losses stack like that, your brain doesn't look for complexity. It looks for one explanation. And the explanation usually becomes, it must be me. Am I the common denominator? Am I difficult? Am I the problem everywhere I go? And that question eats away at your self-worth if you don't stop it. Eventually, something in me shifted. I realized that if standing in my values makes me the problem in someone else's story, then fine. I'll be the problem. The whole fucking problem. Because I'm done shrinking myself to make other people comfortable. I'm done abandoning myself to stay included. I would rather be misunderstood than live disconnected with myself. That was the moment my self-worth stopped being an idea and became action. For a long time, I obsessed over why he did what he did. I thought if I could understand him, everything would make sense. But eventually I realized it doesn't matter. What matters is why I allowed it. Not to shame myself, but so I don't repeat it. I once said I looked in the mirror and saw someone who didn't protect herself. And I've thought about that a lot. Because I don't think that means I didn't value myself. I think it means I valued myself before I understood how to protect myself. Because valuing yourself is internal. Protecting yourself requires action. And actions have consequences. I didn't leave. What I did was draw a line. And within a week, I lost my job. So the fear that standing up for myself would cost me everything wasn't imagined. It happened. And my nervous system learned something very real. Standing up for myself equals loss. That belief didn't come from nowhere. It came from experience. And that's important to say out loud. Because sometimes we're not afraid for no reason. Sometimes our fear is rooted in reality. In counseling, I was told something that really made me think. Not everything in life is a lesson. Sometimes things are just painful. Sometimes things just happen. And part of self-worth is knowing when to reflect and when to stop turning pain into proof against yourself. I've wrestled with this spiritually too. I've heard people say God will let the same person hurt you until you finally let them go. And for a long time, I believed that. But what I understand now is this. God didn't need me broken to free me. He needed me to see clearly. The pain wasn't the lesson. The clarity was. Self-worth for me now isn't perfection. It's awareness. It's choosing carefully. It's being okay being misunderstood. It's not needing to be chosen to know my value. My past self was surviving. My current self is living intentionally. Those versions of me are not enemies. Self-worth isn't erasing who you were. It's understanding her and choosing not to abandon yourself again. Until next time.